Okay, so I want to say boa tarde. Yeah, did I say it right? It's good? Okay. I start with a really quick introduction. I used to look like this, and now I look like this. So I was a student of fine arts. I was studying painting and printmaking. And it was actually accidental that I started to use technology in my work. And now I've come to lose all of my hair. So this talk will be a bit about how I lost my hair. So I travel. And one of the things that happens when you travel is they ask you what you do for a living. So you come to a border, and they say, what is your occupation? And I never feel very comfortable to say that I'm an artist. And what I want to say is that I'm a researcher. Because I will make the argument that artistic practice is a form of research. Like a company would have an R&D department, research and development department, to think about products of the future. And that artists are a kind of R&D department thinking about the future, but maybe the future of humanity. So I do lots of experiments, and my area of research is really about drawing. So here's a simple experiment thinking of creating a software that takes drawing as input and just takes a line and uncurls it. So it's a simple what-if question. What would it look like if a line uncurled itself? And a lot of the projects I do are sort of what-if questions. Here's a collaboration that I created with my primary collaborator, Golan Levin. This is imagining how you could draw with the voice, what the voice might look like. We also think about drawing with touch or drawing with shadow. So here's a kind of small experiment of drawing with shadow. Kind of audio. So I'm going to talk to you today about 3 projects that have to do with drawing. The first is drawing with magic, the second is drawing with motion, and the third is drawing with the eyes. And drawing with magic, this project is called Drawn, and the idea is that I would be on stage painting, and the audience would see what I was painting live. And this was really inspired by the work of Thomas Edison and John Stuart Blackton. So this is a film from 1905 called The Enchanted Drawing. And here, they create the illusion of a drawing coming off of the paper. It was also inspired by the work of the Portuguese artist Helena Almeida. And Helena Almeida would take black and white photographs and add blue paint. So here, she paints a blue dot, she picks it up, she eats it, and she cries blue tears. And I love this idea of paint as something you could touch. So I created a performance where I would be on stage, and I worked together with the Japanese musician Party Kimura, and I would be on stage painting and then interact with what I've painted.
続いてご紹介するのはザッカリーさんの作品ドローン。ザッカリーさん、白い紙に何やら書いていますが、あらら、動き始めましたよ。作品ドローンは紙に描いた模様がまるで命を吹き込まれたかのように突然動き出す、まさに手品のような作品です。
And something really amazing happened. We were touring in Japan, and after every performance, the audience would want to come up and try the project. And so I decided to create a version for people to try themselves. So this is an installation where really anybody is invited to become a performer. there's something that I noticed when I watched people play with this project and interact with this project. And I started to call this the open mouth phenomenon. And my friend Evan Roth calls this, or he has another name for this, he calls this the holy fuck moment. But I think we are talking about the same thing. So I want you to pay attention to this girl. This is number 1. Number 2, you can kind of see the finger entering the scene. Number 3, and number 4. So if I want to talk to you about the kind of research that I do, it's about creating open mouths. Because I will make the argument that an open mouth is a pathway to somebody's heart. The second project, Drawing with Motion, is called IQ Fonts. And this was really a collaboration. And it was a collaboration between myself, some font designers, and a stunt driver. And the idea here is that this is a small car. This is a car from Toyota called the IQ. And people believe that you can't drive these small cars fast. If you drive it fast, it's going to tip over. So we thought, okay, what can we do with this car? Well, let's do something, let's actually draw with the car. And so we designed a typeface, a font, that a stunt driver would drive with the car. And I wrote software that tracks the car from above, that follows the car and turns the movements of the driver into a kind of drawn form.
Tourner autour des côtes, aller jusqu'au dernier, faire un stop, se terminer là-bas.
The driver was really quite crazy, and he liked to drive and do these kind of wipeouts and drive letters backwards. But as a result of this experiment, we actually created a font, and this is a font you can download. And what's beautiful is that these letters are not drawn by hand; they're drawn by a driver, and so they have some kind of weird, funky character. The last project is Drawing with the Eyes, and this is a project called the Eye Writer. And this is a collaboration between myself and 5 other artists. There's Chris Zagru on the left, Theo Watson, and the 2 of us work on a project called Open Frameworks, which is an open source toolkit to help other artists make projects. And we collaborated with Evan Roth and James Potterly of the Graffiti Research Lab. And the Graffiti Research Lab is a group looking at the intersection of graffiti and technology. And the 5 of us collaborated with a 6th artist. His name is Tempt. He's an old school graffiti writer from LA. And he's been doing amazing work in LA, painting and drawing and doing really just kind of beautiful art in the 90s. And about 7 years ago, he was walking down the street and fell over. And he was diagnosed with a disease called ALS. In America, we call this Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a disease that attacks your body. And now he has advanced stage ALS, meaning he's completely paralyzed, and he can only communicate using his eyes. So we went out to LA to meet him, to show him the work that we do, kind of what we're about, to get to know him and his family and his caregivers. And one of the things that we noticed right away is that he had a device. So here he has this commercial eye tracker. He says, "Dude, my hardware is ghetto." But he could just as well be saying, "Dude, my hardware is expensive." These commercial eye trackers cost about $15,000 or $20,000. And what we've been doing is researching and building low-cost, open-source eye tracking solution for our friend Tempt.
Floor is a special unit. My son Tony, as you know, is TIMP. TIMP-1 is there because he suffers from Lou Gehrig's disease. He's in an advanced stage of Lou Gehrig's disease, otherwise referred to as ALS. He is not able to move his limbs or eat or talk or move any part of his body. But however, his brain is wide awake and he's just full of ideas and full of creativity. And so it's fortunate that you guys have entered into his life at this point in time.
And so we've been researching and learning as much as we can about how eye trackers work. and kind of hacking, taking apart webcams, writing software that could track the eye. We've also been designing software for his system, so we could go back and forth between commercial system and a non-commercial system, and designing software for drawing that's really about his love of letter forms. And we've come up with a kind of DIY kit that people can build with really off-the-shelf components and costs about $50. And so we have this iWriter device. Here you can see our development. On the left side, we're developing hardware and software. On the left side, on the bottom left, you can see our Kanye eye tracker that didn't work very well. And here's James modeling the iWriter device. In addition, we've been looking at Tony's art and thinking about his style and how to build tools that will allow him to express himself again, that will allow him to show his style. And here you can see him using our iWriter device. In order to use it, he looks long enough. And by looking long enough, it's like plotting a point. And from plotting points, he can create lines. And from lines, he can create letters. And then he can style them the way he likes. Once we had a system where he could draw, we were thinking, what is the next step? And the next step for us was to actually go outside and project what he was drawing. So we went out with a projector and a generator, and we found buildings in LA to project. So Tony would be in the hospital room drawing, and we would be out on the street projecting what he was making on the side of a building and streaming it back into the hospital.
By just moving his eye.
Here you can see kind of early version of the software. So he's drawing with his eye an M.
Right there in his room, or
a P.
Right there out there
a T.
in public. Just last night we were out in downtown Los Angeles, dark corners of downtown Los Angeles. And as I stood there in some dark corner, fearing for my life, up there in the tall building, unbelievable. Someone was tagging Timp's name up there. That was actually Tony drawing in his hospital room, and miles away it was being projected onto the wall of this building. It happened to be ironically next to a freeway, so the people that were driving by were able to enjoy this as well. But the idea that was actually taking place was unbelievable.
They can't comprehend or even come close to understanding him. I guess if I was born, they would love me more. Guess if I was simple in the mind, everything would be fine. Maybe if I was a jerk to girls, instead of being nice and speaking kind words, then maybe it would be okay to say then I wasn't a good guy to begin with. But my mind is all crazy.
He said, that was the first time I've drawn anything since 2003. It feels like taking a breath after being held underwater for 5 minutes. And what's amazing is that he's continuing to make drawings, and he's pushing and hacking the software in ways we would never have expected. You know, he's making these drawings with his eyes, which is, for us, just really incredible to see. And in addition, every time he makes a drawing, they get saved online. So we save the data and the artwork that he's making, and we're able to take his drawings to different places. So for example, this is in Norway, where graffiti artists in Norway have painted Timp's art. We've even hooked it up to a robotic arm. So Golan Levin took the data and found a robot and actually drew Tony's tag. And you can see the top left corner, this is really our dream, is a van and a robot and a really gigantic marker. Here you can see what it looks like. And this last year I've been teaching. I teach in New York at a school called Parsons School of Design, and my students have been hacking on and researching the next version of the iWriter. So they've been building iWriter devices for people. And we actually have a kind of 2.0 version of the device which we're releasing now. It's a different physical design, but it's still open source and incredibly cheap. And it tracks the eye and allows you to draw, allows you to type. So here's Tempt using our system here.
Graffiti Research Labs iWriter 2.0, all up in the mix. Ya heard?
I want to end with this project, and I want to show this slide. And this is a kid who was hanging out with us when we were developing the iWriter. And he's the son of a couple who invited us out to LA. We were staying in their house. And he has built his own version of the iWriter out of toys, right? And he's walking around with his own version of the iWriter. And I want to suggest this for a couple of reasons. One, to suggest the power of art to inspire the next generation. But in additionally, to make a point about the individual. Because there are problems that exist in the world that companies are not going to solve, and governments are not going to solve, but individuals, and individuals working together can solve. Thank you.